Joni is up next. Are you here, Joni? Should be able to unmute.
Yeah, I'm
Hey,
here.
welcome. Glad you're able to join us. Tell these folks where you're zooming in from today.
Oh, great. I'm actually zooming in from Montana today, but I normally reside in Idaho also. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, up in the Panhandle, but I'm
Yeah.
at my in-laws' house in Montana this week. So, um,
Okay.
yeah, I'm really happy to be here, and I think we're going to take the conversation in a different direction, which will be fun.
That is all right.
Yeah, as much as I love all the agronomic and livestock conversations, we're going to just talk markets, and we're actually going to talk technology today, which can be a kind of a fun topic when you're looking at how this incredible industry interfaces with the market. So,
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, we're really grateful that you're able to join us here. So I'm going to, during the middle of Joni's presentation, continue to take notes, but there's a really simple poll that I'm going to launch. It's 7 questions. And if you'll go ahead and answer those quick 7 questions, it really literally takes like 3 minutes to go through. That will help us a ton to know how we're doing and what we can improve on, and also get some data back on who's in attendance here. So again, first and foremost, give your attention to Joni, but we'll launch that poll and you can roll through that as well. So we can see your screen. Let's roll with it.
awesome. That's great. And I'm just at my timer because you know how it goes. You get on a roll and you're having too much fun and just start talking. So, today we're going to talk about really that whole space between what you're all doing out in the field and on the ranch and how we can be more efficient and profitable in getting differentiated crops to market. So people who are, really leaning into regenerative, organic, specialty crops, biodiverse crops. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I came to be really passionate about this space. Um, I'm originally from Western Oregon near Tillamook, so grew up in a really diverse farm ranch community, a lot of dairy, fishing, and actually a lot of like row cropping too, believe it or not. And just always worked, excuse me, in as a laborer. I've never been in charge of a farm, and I don't actively farm today. I lived through the 80s, and my dad and my uncles and everybody said you need to get out of agriculture as fast as you can and go somewhere else. So I went into the hard sciences and then eventually ended up in the health sciences. But after realizing that we had some real fundamental issues in our food system, I saw that firsthand in 15, almost 20 years at the bedside as an ICU and ER nurse, and realizing that the foundation of our health and the success of our nation is ultimately rooted in the quality of our food. And so I left nursing in my 40s. My kids were little, and I just said, you know what? I'm not going to leave this world the way it is right now for them. There's something has to be done, and it needs to really be this gap between how we shift our norms around food and then make it available to people. So when they want to eat better, they can actually find better quality food. And I'm not talking about like diets or trends or any of this crazy stuff. It's literally how do we make a better flour? How do we make better potatoes? How do we make better meat and animal proteins? Basic staple foods have become incredibly corrupted in the United States, and for so many reasons, and it all starts in the soil, as you know. But real change, I work with so many incredible stewards across the system. I'm really fortunate to engage and work with about a couple 100,000 acres of producers across the country. And I represent them in creating market offtakes, both through branded products in my company, Snacktivist Foods, but we also do brokerage and we do market connection work. So I act as a consultant and broker to create market opportunities for regenerative commodities and sometimes organic commodities too. But what I've learned in this last decade, kind of being new to the food system, is that we just have this fundamental market disconnect. And this market disconnect is not only driving what crops and animals you choose to farm because market, we're all responding to the markets, but it's also driving incredible waste and ultimately robbing producers of better profitability. So I'm really focused on how we can solve for this problem. And one of the things that was really staggering to me early on, I was still a nurse. I was starting Snacktivist. Snacktivist has always had a historical focus on opportunity crops or overlooked crops. So millets, sorghum, buckwheat, cowpeas, different pulses, all these like rotational crops that actually should have a market offtake. They are viable food for humans, they are viable food for livestock. We just don't have paths that get those crops out of the field and into the market efficiently. And this has really clobbered the whole momentum for this crop diversity. And when you think about it, I have a degree in botany, so I do get a little nerdy when it comes to like the actual plant sciences of it all. But we've lost like 93% of our seed diversity just in the last 100 years. Like that's staggering because you guys are all in the regenerative world. You understand that when we are changing our cropping systems and we are losing that genetic diversity, we're also losing the diversity of exudates that go into the soil, the diversity of different phytonutrients and compounds that are affecting insect populations and endemic disease. And ultimately, that's also what is affecting our gut microbiome and our nutrition as humans when we eat these things. And to me, this was like a wake up call that kind of set me on my path. How do we make markets respond to diverse crops, diverse ingredients? And then in my work, and I don't know if some of the farmers I work with are out here in the audience today, they may be. I've really been schooled the last couple years on waste because of lack of market access, and have been working with some incredible farmers in the Northwest. They are a large operation, very diversified, but they do regenerative management around potatoes. And we have been working to move potatoes into the market. But this lack of access with a perishable commodity, well, not a commodity because potatoes are specialty, but it's like this is a ticking time bomb. And unfortunately, there is so much loss through the space. And if you're in ranching, I don't think you're seeing as much loss, but it's staggering. Like 120 to 155 billion pounds of food annually is wasted in the United States. 40% of that never leaves the farm. That's insane, right? And what is driving this loss? Well, there's lots of factors. Of course, we don't want to oversimplify it, but lack of market access is the number one driver. So, market access is a big deal. This is directly affecting your ability to be profitable as a farmer. And this market disconnect is really stealing our long-term food security as well as our profitability. And it's forcing a lot of regenerative farmers to go back into conventional commodity farming. It's stalling supply chains and innovation on the market side. I work with some big companies that would like to do more work with more sustainable, regenerative, specialty crops, but because they don't have this market visibility, they perceive that as having risk. It's easier to just call up and get a bunch of GMO corn. It's riskier to try to secure a non-GMO regenerative corn supply chain because there's just not that centralized structure in the middle. And this is where I have decided to really hone in all of my activities, both at Snacktivist, but then also in a new company that we're launching called the Ryzosphere. And we're building a digital platform to power this next generation of food ag. We have to create market offtake for these unique crops, crops grown under special stewardship like regenerative, organic, et cetera, et cetera. And we don't have that because this is how we're still doing business. Every day, I literally feel like a travel agent did in 1985. Texts, phone calls, no market digitization at my fingertips. So when I have a call from somebody and they're like, oh, shoot, I have 250,000 pounds of rye that needs to be moved like in the next 2 weeks, it's organic. Can you help me move it? I'm scrambling through my Rolodex. I'm doing it like Aaron Brockovich, old school style. I intend to digitize this process. So that way, like today, when you buy a plane ticket, chances are you go to Travelocity or Priceline.com or Orbitz or something. You don't call up the airline and book a ticket. Well, that's what we do in transactions of ingredients and crops still today in 2025. And we are going to change that. So the Rhizosphere is creating a digital platform that connects producers, buyers, processors, all those value chain people in the middle, and service providers across the sustainable bioregional food economy. So we're not looking to be super exclusive. Like we really want to be inclusive to people that are trying to change their system, trying to access new markets, but they need visibility. And that applies to like, hey, you have a farmer, you're trying to find seed that doesn't have any coatings, but they're like, oh, all the seed dealers around coat it. How do you find a seed dealer that doesn't? It's really actually hard. It's word of mouth. If you're a buyer like me at Snacktivist, when we are building products, and I'm saying, hey, I really need to find somebody who's growing XYZ, a buckwheat, but not organic because it needs to be in this price range, but it needs to be processed in a place that has SQF food safety handling. How do I find that? We have no way. So we are creating a way And we're using some really cool technology tools that are available to us now. Um, some of them can be a little intimidating, like some light application of AI and artificial intelligence. But what I like about applying these modern technologies when you really are trying to do something good and effective with them is we can take huge data sets that no human brain, no matter how smart, can sift through fast enough. And we can create efficiencies. And we can also automate things that are a real pain in the butt for purchasers like me, processors like I know, and also farmers to automate the data that drives the deals getting to the finish line. So what is your protocol for safe handling in the field? What is your combine clean out so that you can actually sell me corn that's allergen free and gluten free? We're not very good as an industry in creating consistency around that data and harmonizing it so that it can flow through the system and ultimately get these great offtakes to the finish line, and you can collect that money and you can create more market opportunities for your farm. So some of the things that are really important to us at the Rhizosphere is human-centric connectivity. I know those are a lot of big words, but how do we make sure we keep the human and the community side intact and together? And so in the Rhizosphere, we're very intentional about organizing around communities. So if you're part of a co-op, you're part of a maybe like our Farm Smart biofarming group out of our Spokane Conservation District, those are communities. And we feel that farmers and producers are stronger in communities than you are just working as individuals. We always want people to obviously have the opportunity to work as an individual. That's important too. But people need community. They need to feel like they know each other. They need to feel a human connection. And that's one of the reasons that marketplaces are often not a very fun place to shop and not a very fun place to sell because they're dehumanized. You're just a commodity, it's just another transaction. Intelligence and transparency, again, we're using AI, we're using some really deep, sophisticated tech, but we don't want this to feel like a tech platform. We want this to feel like a place where you can find your people, you can match make efficiently, and you can do business. And so we're providing that technology to make it more efficient. And ultimately, market activation. At the end of the day, the only reason we're building this is we want to build more markets. We want to activate new markets that are not previously accessible to you as a rancher or farmer, or probably a combination of both. And if my friend Brad is out here in the audience today, there he is. It's Brad Walter from Washington. And the Rhizosphere is not the community. It's the farmers and producers we represent who are the community. So in this case, this is a religious community that communally farms and manages. We believe that keeping communities together is the foundation of a healthy food system. So I started mapping the food system a few years back, and this is what I came up with. I was like, good grief, there's a lot of moving parts here. No wonder we can't navigate it very efficiently. In order to get a deal done here, all of these various pieces come into play. You've got agronomy and seed genetics, you've got producers, you have crop insurance, you have insurance for the when the crop leaves and travels through the value chain and goes through logistics. We have certifications, verifications, USDA, NRCS. We have all the purchasers, post-consumer waste, aggregation, storage. I mean, it's wild. No wonder this is a difficult industry to navigate and change. So for all of us who are working on how do we change the food industry? How do we make it realigned with the interests of human health, rural economics, and environmental resiliency? How do we do that? We have to move all these pieces of the puzzle at the same time. Um, Luckily, there's some great examples of people selling direct to consumers, and that's a way that you can really skip a lot of this complexity. However, if you're wanting to move larger quantities, like, say you're like, I have to move 1 million pounds of wheat a year in order, I can't do all that on my website. That's very hard to do. You had to participate in this big giant system. So what we're aiming to do is take this whole nightmare and make it more simplistic. How do we take all those moving parts? This is hundreds of thousands of people, professionals across the system. And how do we put them into an environment that kind of feels like Facebook or kind of feels like LinkedIn, but with mapping? So we were like, oh, that's where they are. They're actually down the street. Like, oh, Steve's in Idaho too. How cool is that? Like, there's something about bioregional proximity that makes us feel safe. And it's very important for sustainability too, because we don't want to be shipping things further than they need to. And we want to be able to have people connect. So a really cool example that's happening right now in the Rhizosphere is we have a purchaser who's a very large purchaser of organic commodities, grains, pulses, and oil seeds mostly. And they're actually importing a lot of their beans from the Middle East and from Asia. And simultaneously, I have a large group of farmers who are growing organic pulses and don't have market. So we're using the Ryzosphere to help connect these entities. So hopefully going into next year, we're going to be placing offtakes. Those farmers can get offtakes with this purchaser, and we're no longer importing organic beans from overseas when we really should just be shipping them from the next state over. And that is our goal in the Rhizosphere, bringing these people together and providing this visibility so we can find each other to do these deals. Now, mapping's a big deal, and I love static mapping. Like Google Maps is what we call static mapping. So you're like, oh, cool, points on the map. I can see it's an estate like this. Sorry, poor quality picture, but it's like Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado. And, we've been doing some mapping exercises at Snacktivist because we're like, hey, where are, I'm using organic farmers in this one because it's an easy example. Where are our organic farmers? Where are our post-harvest handling partners that can process organic? And where are the anchoring market offtakes that are looking for this? And when you start to map things, suddenly they're so much more clear. Instead of guessing and kind of having it be chaotic, you can start making sense of it. And what we're doing now with one of our AI enabled matchmaking units is we're actually taking those points and we're taking the detail of the points and we're creating what's called a knowledge graph. And so that way you can see the interrelationships between these various points. So if you're an organic farmer and you know that you have an organic processor down the road, and you're reporting, hey, I really need to have more offtakes for, let's say, sorghum. They'd like to do a sorghum rotation because it works really well to condition the soil. Out here in the Northwest, we have some farmers report a bump in 20% productivity in their wheat, and their test weights go up too, following sorghum rotation. But there's no offtake for sorghum. We don't have the connections made. I've been working on it, but we're still not there yet. And so this will actually send a signal to the system that'll say, hey, Farmer Dave over here would like to grow some sorghum. He's organic. He's got this many acres. Hey, processor, we see that you're an organic processor and you're buying organic sorghum. We don't know where you're buying it from, but we'd like you to know that there's a farmer 50 miles away who is reporting he would like to grow that. And that's where that intelligence comes in. And that's where AI can be really handy because it would take an army of people like me to get this done, which actually just steals margins from you guys because we're charging you money to do it. Like we can't work for free. I wish we could, but we can't. And so basically my goal is to put me out of work charging for matchmaking because I feel like it should be self-service. I feel like you should keep that margin and that profit in your pocket. And if I can get out of the way, just like realtors and travel agents, and there's a lot of great services out there, but sometimes they're needlessly taking margin from everyone in the system, including the consumers. They end up paying really expensive money for not so valuable food because everyone in the middle took a little chunk out of it. If we can reduce that and we can take expert people and we can put them in a different place in the system, we actually can have much better quality food at a much more affordable price that actually maintains margins for the producers that are making that food great in the first place. So think about what happened in the real estate industry in the 80s. I remember like it was books of MLS listings, and you're like, oh my goodness, like this is a nightmare. I know what I want, but I'm having to flip through a catalog, and the realtor is telling me I just need to buy that. So I'm just going to do it because I have no visibility into what's available. I don't know what the inventory is. But now you go to Zillow and you can look for any house you want and you can hire a realtor. Realtors did not go away, but we dramatically changed the way they work. They work for the consumers now. They work and represent the people in the system rather than being a bottleneck in the system. And that is the goal. So one of the ways that this operates, and this is really important to me, is like we create profiles about all of our stakeholders through the system. And we don't mean it to be creepy profiling because you have control over what you want to make available and what you want to keep private. That's all up to you. But we want our system to be able to matchmake you with people that will help advance your business. So I have a little model one here for my buddy Tim Corney. He owns Thousand Springs Mill. He's also in Idaho. He's not only a farmer, but he's also a rancher. He has a million enterprises, like many. He has a huge processing facility and he has a brand. So he has a lot of different things going on. There's a lot of reasons why people in the system want to find him and engage with his company. But he struggles with having enough visibility. He needs to be found. So our system can go in and say, hey, anybody who's doing manufacturing of XYZ, they could be matched to Tim, and that could eventually create a business opportunity for both parties that are involved. And again, we want people to be able to list like not only where they are, what things they grow, what things they process, who their market partners are they part of associations and groups, are they part of verifications, certifications, etc. Like, oh, you're part of Pacific Northwest Direct Seed Association. Okay, cool. Like, it helps give mental relativity to where people fit in the system when we can actually see what organizations and associations they're a part of and they interface with. And this is what feeds the AI to help create really high quality tinder for the food system. And one of the other things that I have been building for the last few years, and we started building this in Snacktivist, is what we call the System Vitality Index framework. So this is a data framework that makes it really easy for producers to communicate where they are in their soil health journey, where they are in their commodity health, so tissue nutrition, spray residue testing, all of those different qualities that indicate the health of the actual organism, whether that be animal or plant. Input tracking. So if you're doing greenhouse gas emissions, inputs tracking, EIQ scoring, etc. And then also market resiliency and readiness. Like, are you a farmer who already sells to like 20 different partners? Or are you a farmer who just sells to the local co-op? That's actually going to be a really important thing for a purchaser like me to know, because if you already sell to many independent off-takers, chances are it's going to be quicker and easier for me to create an offtake with you because you're already used to doing that. And so those are the kind of things that we need to know in the system to make these deals flow through faster. And we want to make it really easy to share it or not. So if people want to have this system vitality index, they can load all their information in there, or they can hire someone to help have that be done. And you get full control over this. You can say, hey, I'd like the AI to match people to my spec sheet for my wheat I just harvested, because I'm trying to find a specialty bakery that wants that specific spec sheet of wheat. But I don't want the consumer to be able to just see it, So maybe, and Keith a Mortar, he's a farmer in Oregon, you may know him. We're building his SVI where if somebody wants to see any of this information, it automatically triggers an NDA, which is like basically a preliminary contract that says, hey, Keith owns this information. It belongs to his farm, and he'd like to share this information with you, but under NDA, because you're not allowed to take it, run with it, sell it. This is Keith's proprietary information. It's actually very representative of the hard work he puts into his farm, and also the investment he makes in all these extra tests. And that's what makes him a premium farmer. And he's a productive farmer. I mean, he's a large scale farm. And so these are these mechanisms that we're developing to help you communicate why you're different and better than the guy down the street who's not taking care of his soil, not taking care of the organisms growing on the farm, and not going that extra mile for quality. Here's our team. We've got an awesome team coming together. And again, we have the farmer in the middle because, yeah, we're a team. Yes, we have all that classic, kind of executive mumbo jumbo stuff, but we don't believe in this hierarchical model. We actually believe in a decentralized model, and it's a distributed, federated model that is being built to serve the industry. So in our corporate structure, we have a picture. That's Keith. I just was talking about him. He's in the middle, although we put a lot of our different farmer friends right in the middle there and rancher friends, because we're building this to serve the customer. And so the customer is in the middle, even in our leadership team. And we go to great lengths to spend a lot of time talking to our customers and the people we are trying to serve. So whether you're a producer or a seed breeder or a university researcher or NRCS or rancher or farmer, everybody's important here, because if the system doesn't have that level of respect, it will not be effective. Yeah. So basically, at the end of the day, like I, people love to quote Bucky Fuller. I'm sorry, it's a little, cliche at this point, but it's powerful because I spent 10 years trying to change the existing model. I thought, okay, everyone said build a brand so that way consumers can buy all these crazy grains that you're in love with, like sorghum, millet, teff, all the stuff. Go do the same rule book. And after really being schooled for a good decade, I think we have to build a new model. I just think we have to build a new model. And it needs to just serve the customers. It needs to serve the segment, the communities that we're here to serve. And if we can get that right, we can actually change the outcomes of the system that will impact profitability and rural family livelihoods, and also impact our consumers by creating higher quality foods that have higher nutritional um, you know, profiles and also lower chemical residuals, all the things that I feel like generally people want today, but it's still so hard to get. You go to Walmart, it's really hard to find something that has like, oh, it's glyphosate residue free, or oh, this was grown under regenerative management. It's getting better all the time, but we still have this fundamental divide. So by creating a new mechanism, creating a new model for the B2B, this is business to business transaction. I believe we can fundamentally change the way our supply chains operate here in the US and reorient them around bioregional systems, communities, and family businesses. And again, that realignment with human health and that long-term environmental resiliency, soil health, water health, all of that stuff. Because if we don't, our grandkids are not going to enjoy the health and lifestyle that we all enjoy today. So, on a final note, the Ryzosphere is actually going live next week, but in a very small pilot model. And so we are still building a wait list. We want to make sure that this works really, really well because we don't want to bring people in and waste their time and have to like redo things. So we're going to take the next couple of months and we're going to work hard to break our system so we know that it works when we invite the rest of the world in. So if you'd like to be on our wait list, if you scan this code from your phone, if you hold your phone up and turn on the camera, it will recognize that as a link and a little yellow bar will pop up. And I'm happy to put the link in the chat as well, like that you can just click on it. But if you want to take a picture with your phone, that is just a basic wait list. We will not sell your information to anybody. It is internal only at the Rhizosphere. And we're going to start sending out some newsletters to keep people up to date with what we're working on. And also when we're going to go live, which will probably be January, which is kind of shockingly not too far off. I'm kind of scared that the year's gone by so fast. But we would love to have all of you. We're really working hard to embrace our animal and animal protein side of the equation, as well as fibers and agroforestry. We have historically had a bit of a focus on more row crop because that's my personal background, but we are rapidly expanding to embrace other types of verticals in ag. So please feel free to sign up. We'd love to keep in touch. And also, there is a forward you will land on our webpage, and there's an email there. So we would love to hear from you. And in fact, if any of you just want to jump on a call and say, here's what I'm up against, like, can you help us solve this? We are doing very intensive customer conversations right now for the next 2 months, where we're just interviewing people who are doing this every day, who are up against these barriers, because we want to know how to best serve you. So if you're interested in being a conversation person with us, we would love to talk to you. So again, feel free to reach out to team@ryzosphere.io. I'll put that in the chat here as soon as we're done, and we'll schedule a time and we'll talk. So sorry to throw so much info at you so quickly, but I wanted to make sure we could cover all kinds of stuff. And again, I'm Joni at Ryzosphere, and team at Ryzosphere will get you to our team, and we'd love to talk to you. So I can't believe we just ate up an entire half hour.
That was awesome, Joni. Wow. Way to cover the subject. We really appreciate the work that you're doing